Welcome to Get and Keep Biz. This is the video learning series on marketing, and today we talk about marketing analytics. Marketing analytics are the backside of the research process. They're the processes and technologies that we use to evaluate the success of our initiatives. So today that's a very popular activity because people want to know what the return is on their marketing investment. So we measure such tactical efforts like message effectiveness of our ads and messages, digital, social and traditional media delivery, and whether or not it reached and actually affected any outcomes. So that's what we do in marketing analytics, and we'll try to explain here some of the accepted business metrics and how they play in helping to quantify and improve marketing effectiveness overall. Here are the roles that marketing managers must identify and lead with. Your marketing analytics program should gather data from across all marketing channels and consolidate it into a common marketing view. The idea is to have a dashboard and use those things that really matter to us to know that we are hitting home with our marketing efforts. From this common view, then, we can extract analytic results, and we'll get those from any number of sources. Second part of this is we will think of ourselves as wearing three hats. I love the propeller beanie. It tells me that that's really all about strategy and creativity and innovativeness and all that sort of thing. And then boiling that down and making a good strategy that works. The old detective's hat there is that person that we need who can actually pull out of the data and formulate it so that we can make some sense out of it. And then the data chef is the one that makes up the stew, makes up the recipe that we can present to management, interpret with real solid insights and actionable things to do. We've looked at this before, the market analytics. We took you through this in the research piece, and I won't go through it again, but this is something you should probably study once you get a chance to look at this deck. Essentially, each one of these has, as we'll show here with outcomes analysis, it describes what that particular tool is all about, and then it gives you some examples of those kinds of tools, and that's what each one of those does. A good little piece to look at from time to time, or even in the course of this program, so that you can get a better feeling for it. Here is what we will call automated behavior targeting. Now, the reason this becomes important is because so much of what we do is online or World Wide Web or internet or whatever you want to call it, talking about and trying to understand how traffic to our site or to our messages is working or not working. So we look at that first box in the upper left. There's my website, Get and Keep Biz. And as a visitor arrives at my website, I try to understand where they're coming from and what they're doing. So a call goes out to a visitor profile repository. That would be that little cylinder, the red cylinder down on the left. And that will then start to build a profile, as well as create the ability to retrieve the profile of repeat visitors. So it takes first-time visitors, recognizes you're a first-timer, builds the profile, puts it into an automated or rules-based modeling engine over there on the right bottom. And essentially that then gives us some picture of the kind of individuals that are coming to our website. We then take all those little photographs and pictures and we start to analyze through this automated or rules-based modeling engine some understandings about the behaviors and things that really move us toward good marketing outcomes. Now let's look at the top there as we move up through the content library. When I start to understand what kind of people are coming to my website, I start to understand what kind of messages I want to send. And I can do this through A/B testing and so forth based on what their profile shows me. Now, that library content is to be multidimensional, lots of things in there, videos, white papers, any number of things. Optional content, basically, that allows me to then ferret that out and send it to the right kind of a visitor. So that CMS, that serves content, the content message server, that particular piece then delivers that message back to the person that it's arriving first time or second time or third time, whatever it happens to be, with the kind of message that we hope to activate their behavior, move them toward activations that's positive towards us. This is a whole bucket full of great marketing analytics stuff. That automated or rules-based modeling engine really does it all for us. And if we break this down, we see that it requires a certain amount of discipline. Two things: invest in solid customer listening posts. When we try to use this model, we want to make sure that our objectives with regard to getting the tight content to the right people, right? Use active listening posts like surveys, usability studies, remote testing, some of the things we saw in the previous slide before the last. And this could also include things like listening to the call center conversations. But essentially, what you really have to do is not just rely on the techno here, but rely on your gut. Rely on your intuitiveness, understanding your customer and what matters to them. Secondly, we must do A/B or multivariate targeting first. A/B means I put up an A option and a B option, and I measure which one worked better based on a customer inquiry. Testing and experimentation provides insight into behavior targeting. So that first part is kind of the intuitive understanding. The second part is really breaking that down into specific kinds of actionable behavior measures. And that's really where this really starts to make some sense to everybody. As we said before, there are 5 things we generally try to do in marketing, a generic marketing objectives. Not all of them. This isn't going to be all of them, but it can be a lot of them. Most of the time, this is what happens. And those are the questions we tend to kind of feature out of the box. So with those 5 generic options, we looked at growing loyalty as the 5th one, and we took you through the last time this idea of asking key questions. And the way that we document this plan is we take that business objective, we ask the key question that might matter to help us get to the answers, and then we use data and source tools to get us there. And we've covered that in research before. Now, let's take a moment and understand on the backside your analytic plan and how that works. Understanding marketing analytics allows us to be more efficient and to actually minimize wasted web marketing dollars, and that is the name of the game. 4 steps here, a 4-step plan to develop actionable analytics. It begins with the plan where we define success. And then what we want to do is we want to move to collection, actually, where here's what we want to do, and then we're going to actually move to collection of data. And that is going to measure what matters. The third component that we arrive at is once we collect the data, we want to analyze it. That means we sometimes have to monitor as we collect and learn as we go along and may have to adjust. Generally, you want to clean that data so it's nice and representable and all makes sense. And that becomes the report function. This becomes very important as we've learned in research. It's not so important to collect all that data and not do anything with it. You really have to report. You have to communicate and act to management and to the operatives in the marketing operation and other aspects of the company so they understand what's going on with your overall efforts. So if we break that down, there you have it. You can study that later when you look at the deck. Kind of gives you an idea of what the 4-point plan is all about. Here is how you may want to find raw data and metrics, many sources. And we also have another list here of places to get and help you find data. It's very helpful. In review, analytics should gather data from all across marketing channels, including the ones we don't typically think of, like call centers and reception desks and things like that. Secondly, the marketer has to wear 3 hats, and essentially that's a strategist, that's a detective, or the owner of the data infrastructure that can actually help plan, collect, and analyze the data, and then the data chef. This is the person who actually takes that data and makes sense out of it for management and others. The 4 stages of analytics, as we just talked to you about, building the plan is about defining success, is collecting and measuring what matters, is analyzing, that is monitoring, learning, tidying your data so that you can clean and remove errant data, and then reporting is about communicating and acting, telling a clear and memorable story. Okay, so that's the end of the program today. There's a little bit more about where we got that information, and next up we will be talking about something very important, and that is market segmentation.